Hello, my name is Roger Lear and I'm a funding officer at the Office for Students. In the previous video, we looked at the role of the HESES workbook in the data verification process. In this video, we will discuss how this process uses data verification queries, or DVQs, and how to complete the HESES sign-off. We will also consider data amendments. For an in-depth guide to the mechanics of obtaining and submitting your HESES workbook, please see the relevant video in this playlist. Once again, it's worth setting the scene by repeating the importance of data assurance. Data verification represents the first part of the OFS's data assurance process. Other activities such as audits and data reconciliations may take place at a later date. Note that where a provider fails to submit data on time or returns data that is not credible after verification, we may allocate funds based on our own estimates of student activity. We reserve the right to use our own estimates of data where we have reason to believe provider data is not fit for purpose. We reserve the right to review funding allocations for the most recent 7-year period. Data verification allows us to have confidence in the accuracy of data and the robustness of each provider's data process. It allows us to understand the data's context and how this relates to what's happening at the provider, and to identify any large or unexpected changes from previous years. The data verification phase of the HESES process starts after the submission deadline and ends on the sign-off deadline. This date varies from year to year, but it is usually towards the end of January or the start of February. Each year the precise date will be prominently featured on the letters sent to accountable officers with the initial data verification queries, in the HESES documentation, on our website, and in the description of this video on YouTube. Note that the data verification phase has very tight timelines, and there may be several rounds of queries before your data is ready to be signed off. When the data verification process begins, a data verifier at the OFS will review each provider's workbook. They will compile initial data verification queries by considering first stage credibility warnings on the courses table if applicable and on tables 1 through 7, highlighting in the comparison tables any initial explanations that have been received and any other relevant issues. The data verifier will then send data verification queries, or DVQs, to the provider's student data contact in the form of a Microsoft Word document. We strongly recommend that each provider nominate more than one of these to avoid single points of dependence due to holidays or unscheduled absence. Please write to HESES, that's HESES, at officeforstudents.org.uk to nominate other colleagues in this role. For the same reason, it's a good idea to save workbooks and correspondence where other team members can access them if required. These factors are particularly important because of the tight timetable for data verification. Now we'll look at an example of the format of the DVQs and how they are built up through the data verification process. This slide will give you an idea of the back and forward of the data verification process. Here's just one page from the Word document that I've been describing that's exchanged between the data verifier and the student data contact throughout the verification process. We don't show it here, but it starts with a section for queries on first stage credibility warnings. Its format is almost identical to what we see here from the following section for queries on the workbook's comparison tables. Specifically, here we see questions on comparison table H, which is about the proportions of new entrants on table 5. We won't show the comparison table itself here or the highlighting on it because we just want to show the format of the data verification queries. Under the heading Table Row, the relevant place on the table is identified, in this case the row for full-time and sandwich year out home fee undergraduates. In the next column, headed Query, we see the reason for the highlighting and then the data verifier's request for further details. Note that the queries are dated. please date your own responses in the adjoining column for ease of a reference. To further assist with this, if there's more than one exchange of queries and responses, data verifiers will often colour the text of their queries to help distinguish them from each other. It's helpful if this is mirrored in the provider responses. Finally, once a query has been successfully answered, the entire row will be shaded grey to show that it has been completed. In terms of responses to DVQs, we are looking for responses that directly relate to the query raised, provide an appropriate level of detail, and show an understanding of HESES definitions. The question, "How has your provision changed?" is often a good way to get into generating a response. A single underlying issue may be the reason for more than one query. Please feel free to cross-reference and link your responses accordingly. During data verification, it may become apparent that your HESES workbook needs to be amended. Liaise with your data verifier to arrange for your amended workbook to be uploaded to the OFS portal. During data verification, the process for uploading is slightly different than before the submission deadline. Please see the video on using the portal in this playlist. Your data verifier will assist you. The HESES sign-off form is sent when our queries have been resolved and any amendments to the data in the workbook have been processed. It must be signed and returned by each provider's accountable officer by the final sign-off deadline. As explained earlier, this date varies from year to year, but it is usually towards the end of January or the start of February. Each year, the precise date will be prominently featured on the letter sent to accountable officers with the initial data verification queries, in the HESES documentation, on our website, and in the description of this video on YouTube. The sign-off must be by the provider's accountable officer. If it's anticipated that they will not be available, please let us know as soon as possible. We expect that the data we use will be the final version submitted and signed off as correct by the provider's accountable officer. Sometimes errors are identified in the data after it has been signed off, or even after the OFS has used the data. Signed off data can be amended, but we will only accept amendments to final submitted data in exceptional circumstances. To be accepted for amendment, errors must be widespread and significant, relate to clear evidence of data error rather than reinterpretation of the data, and be likely to have a material impact on one or more of our uses of the data. A data amendment panel will assess errors using information provided to it and then decide or recommend whether we require the errors to be corrected. If you believe that your data may need to be amended after sign-off, please contact us straight away. For further details, please see our website at this address: www.officeforstudents.org.uk/data-and-analysis/amendments to data. And for those who rely on the audio only, data and analysis has hyphens between each of those three words, as does amendments to data. Thank you for watching and listening. If you have any questions or need further assistance, please contact us at HESES@officeforstudents.org.uk. That's HESES @officeforstudents, all as one word, .org.uk. One of our team members will be happy to help. Please keep watching for more videos and further information.